Hi class, Jolene here. We're going to talk about kerning, tracking, and leading of typography. As you can see here, the definitions of each one. Kerning is the spacing between letters. Tracking is the spacing between letters / words in a block of text. And then leading is the spacing between the baselines of type. So let's take a look at each one of these. For the example for kerning, we'll take a look at some type trials that I've been messing around with for a Thanksgiving card. These are a couple of the fonts that I kind of like and I'm thinking about using. But on both of these, I'm really bothered by the extra amount of space between the T and the H here. So if I click inside in between the two and then get my character palette out here, I can decrease that amount of spacing by clicking right here. And I'm just going to hold that down and keep moving it until it visually looks good to me, so that things look like they're pretty well evenly spaced, and that looks a lot better to me. And I would do the same thing on this one. This time I'm going to tell you about the shortcut to do the same thing. Rather than using the character panel, you can hold down the Alt key and use your arrows. In this case, I'm going to use my left arrow to move that H over. My right arrow will move it the other way. So that's the shortcut for that. So that is kerning, spacing between letters. Tracking has to do with the spacing between a whole group of text. So let's take a look at our area type tool that this tutorial that we talked about earlier. So for instance, if you need to make this fit better, we could select this type, and this is where we set the tracking. So let me put it back to 0. And now I'm kind of bothered by the fact that this word is on a line by itself. That's called a widow, when you have just one or two words, and it looks odd. It's not pleasing to the eye. So I'm going to select this again, and let's see what happens when we use tracking. So I'm going to increase the amount of space, and just by doing that little bit, it puts both of those words on that bottom line. Let's see what happens if we increase it a little bit more. Now, what might happen is it messes up other things. So for instance, we've got this number 12 here, and the song is on the next line. And for something like this, you really should have them all on the same line. So you could click here and then click enter and make that go to the next line. And now look at that. That works really good because we've got all of this lining up a lot better. So that's the spacing between a group of text, a chunk of text, and that's called tracking. Let's go back over here and look at leading now. That's the spacing between the baselines of type. So again, let's take a look at this example. That means vertically the amount of space. So if I select this type again, and then let's put this back to 0. Oh, it's pretty much on top of each other. So I can increase the amount of space between the lines. Let me zoom in on this. So that's pretty darn close together and is kind of uncomfortable to read. I mean, you can see these are almost touching each other, the ascenders and descenders. So we want to increase that even more. So you can increase it enough to where it's visually appealing, but also to look good within the space that you want to use it in. So let's see how that looks, for instance. That looks very comfortable to read there. Nothing's touching each other. There's plenty of space in between the lines, and that's comfortable to our eye. So that's kerning, tracking, and leading. It's using those those three tools are going to be very, very beneficial to you in this project and in all other projects that you use, that you create, I should say.